My name's Max McMurdo and I'm a designer, upcycler and entrepreneur, and believe it or not, I live in a 40-foot floating shipping container. So of course, being an upcycler, the shipping container itself is upcycled, but all of the materials where possible are also upcycled. So on the back wall behind me, there's 1,000 pieces of pallet wood, which was painstaking, but so worth it, because I wanted to create some intrigue using upcycled materials, but also house lots of little cubby holes for keeping remote controls. A feature wall, I think, in a home is a super important part to create that really nice atmosphere. So I've got underfloor heating throughout the houseboat, but in the lounge I've got as a real focal point the log burner. There was a slight issue, however, that they get very warm, particularly the handle. So I just got a small amount of black Sugru, wrapped that around the handle, and actually now you can touch it when the log burner is on full pelt. It's still safe to open and close the door. In my home, I like to have lots of little lamps. So I've got the ladder light, which creates a nice warm glow with an Edison bulb. I've got my wash drum table, one of my first ever designs, which I love because it's contemporary, but in a really nice, fun twist on upcycling. You've got the stainless steel, the glass, the streams of light coming out of the holes. So the wall behind me to the left, the wall of art, I try and buy unique individual pieces of bespoke art where possible, but the texture behind, it looks like some fancy concrete. In actual fact, it was just a bit of paint mixed with the sawdust and some PVA glue. The textures and finishes in the kitchen are fairly contemporary actually. I've got the scaffold tubes for the lighting rig with the jelly mould lampshades, a nice little simple upcycle there. Got the dining table that's built into the floor, but in reality you only get that out maybe at weekends. So the 2 tractor seat stools at the end of the kitchen breakfast bar work really well. Living in a small space, you just can't make too much mess, otherwise you go stir crazy in here. So with the spatulas, what I've done is I've got a small piece of white Sugru to keep it quite contemporary and just stuck it on the underside of the handle near the top. So when I put my spatulas and utensils down, they don't mark the work surface, which makes me happy because it's not making a mess, but also it's a lot more hygienic. Probably my favourite upcycle of the entire houseboat is the piece of scaffold tube that I've sliced down the middle. Then the tap actually rotates through from the kitchen all the way through to the bathroom. Now, as with the rest of my houseboat, the bathroom is a relatively small space, so I didn't want lots of pots and things lying around in there with toothbrushes and toothpaste. So I've actually hung my toothbrush on the wall with a piece of yellow Sugru, which creates a great little hook. But then I've also added a cactus underneath, so the excess water that drips off my toothbrush actually helps to water the cactus, and it actually works fantastically well. In the bedroom, I really didn't want extra pieces of furniture like a wardrobe, chest of drawers, taking up valuable space. So the wardrobe itself is underneath the bed. You simply lift up the mattress on a couple of gas struts, the whole thing lifts up and you've got 5 meters of hanging space underneath the bed. And it also gives you a little bit of privacy. You can walk down in there, get changed, close it up afterwards, and there's no clothing on display, which makes me a very, very happy boy. So living in a small space, you don't have a lot of room to collect things, as it were, but I do have a thing for watches. I do have a few of those. So rather than them just laying around, getting scratched, rubbing against each other, I've actually stuck some hooks onto the mirror so I can see them, select the right one to go with my outfit, and I've just used a tiny piece of Sugru behind each hook because it enables you to stick a non-porous surface to another one. So usually attaching metal to glass would be a really tricky concept, but a tiny little bit of Sugru, pop it on, perfect. Now I think it's fair to say the outside of my floating home is just as important as the inside. So I've got lots of plants out there in upcycled containers. I've even got a bird feeder stuck to the glass using Sugru, and it's an old teapot and a tea strainer to feed the birds. Now how could you possibly live in these beautiful surroundings and on the river and not have a canoe? So I bought myself one last year, but it actually had 2 small holes in it. I've got some black Sugru, filled in the hole, and it's absolutely watertight now, so I can enjoy the beauty of that river.